And I'm Walt Gray. Millions of people are in the dark again.
Yeah.
It's the second day. Nobody's happy about it.
No, nobody's happy about this. PG&E cut out the power for more than 600,000 customers, with more than 100,000 still at risk of losing it.
All right, let's take you now to the PG&E outage map. Every purple dot is a community that has no power. More dots are being added every minute. Many of these people have been in the dark since midnight on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so let's get a look at our weather right now. We're going to turn it over to Rob Carlmark because we know that this fire weather or the fire danger weather is what's causing all of this. Hey, Rob.
Exactly. You know, the story that we know is happening and ongoing and frustrating and something that has no defined end is the power outage. But what we saw a couple hours ago was the true risk of all of this, which is, you hear the wind out here. It fanned the flames of this area circled in red here. See the strong wind gusts. This is in the Moraga area. This is south of Walnut Creek, and we saw a fire break out and move very quickly toward homes. At one point in this area, again, this is Moraga, this is south of St. Mary's University, we saw it break out in an open area. Hundreds of homes were evacuated there, but luckily they were able to get a handle on it, stop the forward progress, and now they're in a mop-up stage. But it was very scary because of the wind direction. If it made it past that, it had plenty of room to burn, and then the next stop, Oakland Hills area. So this is what we're seeing at the moment. Maybe that fire's been stopped, but folks, at any moment, a new one can pop up, and the wind is still strong. Gusts everywhere. In the valley, these are sustained winds. I've seen recently some gusts in the valley, 30 miles an hour. In the Sierra foothills, we're seeing gusts of 40 and 50 miles an hour. And towards Santa Rosa overnight, consistent wind gusts 60 and 70 miles an hour. So let's fast forward with the wind, because that's really the story. I cannot wait for sunrise, because a couple things will happen. The gradients relax a little bit. The wind situation gets better, and if something breaks out, then you're able to use aircraft, which is a huge tool during a big fire weather day. I do have some bad news, and that's this. The red flag warning has been extended for the valley and the Sierra foothills. So for the valley, till 9 p.m. tonight instead of 5 p.m. So 4 more hours, a couple hours past sunset is the best way of thinking about it. And then for the Sierra foothills, another rough night, because if it's been extended until Friday, 10 o'clock in the morning, that means another night in the dark, another night to be concerned about fires popping up and growing quickly, and we're just not out of the woods yet weather-wise. This all starts and will end with changes in the weather. Once we move closer to Thursday night in the valley, Friday morning and afternoon for the higher elevations, the weather situation gets much, much better. Walt, Kirsten?
All right, we're looking forward to that. Okay, thank you, Rob.
All right, so PG&E is shutting off power in some pretty dangerous fire weather. You just heard Rob talk about it. It's windy, there's no humidity. That means that fires can start and then spread pretty quickly.
Yeah, just a couple of hours ago, a vegetation fire started in Vacaville. Britt Moore is there live. Britt, we know you just got to that situation, that location. What's it like right now?
That means that fires can start and then spread pretty quickly.
Yeah, just a couple of hours ago.
It is mighty windy here. The conditions are pretty bad out here, which is exactly why fire crews had to bring in additional resources so they could fight the fire. It is out now, but again, things got pretty rough, so they wanted to make sure they got this thing handled pretty quickly. I want to show you what the scene looked like when we arrived not too long ago. It happened on Sunnybrook Lane. You know, Deputy Fire Chief Doug Rogers tells me 1 acre of land burned. Now, there were wood piles and brush around a house here on this land. The house itself did not catch on fire, but they put this thing out pretty quickly, so that's the good news there. But they made sure to do all they could to prevent this fire from spreading. Of course, you can hear this wind. It is just brutal. But again, I want you to listen to what the Deputy Fire Chief had to say. They made sure to do all they could to prevent this fire from spreading. Of course,
we can barely stand up out here.
Brutal. But again, I want you to listen to what the Deputy Fire Chief had to say.
We call more resources quicker because, as you can
yeah,
tell,
we've been in Vacaville for several hours now. The wind is definitely pretty consistent, very strong. The Deputy Fire Chief telling me overnight things were pretty quiet, so they were happy about that, but they are definitely preparing themselves for what could come because the wind, like I said, it is pretty bad out here. Overnight things were pretty quiet.
All right, that is Britt Moore, who is live in Vacaville. We'll continue to follow that situation, and obviously the wind and fire. This this is our biggest fear, that these two are aiding each other here.
Yeah, you can even feel it here in Sacramento. Okay, so ABC 10's Carlos Herrera is in Nevada City, where thousands of people are in the dark.
Carlos, live with an update. Aiding each other here.
Yeah, you can even feel it.
Yeah, well, the last check on that outage map online, 40,000 customers in Nevada County are without power this morning. It was shut off yesterday morning, and again, they're still out in the dark. I'm in Nevada City right now. This is Broad Street, one of the main thoroughfares that run kind of on the heart of the city. You can see lights are on here, street lamps as well, but don't let that fool you. These are gas lamps that are running on a generator. That's one of them here. In terms of the wind, take a look for yourself. Not blowing much more than it was blowing yesterday, actually, and that's exactly what's making people so upset here in Nevada County. They were really voicing their concerns at last night's city council meeting. It was actually cut short because the generator powering that lights in the council chamber was actually running out of gas. People were frustrated that their power was out, and there was barely a breeze all day. About 24 people gathered outside City Hall last night. They were wearing colorful lights. A light parade of some sort was held. We spoke with Nevada City Mayor Renette Sinam. She told us the city is supportive with having a power outage during any catastrophic winds, but simply they weren't seeing any last night.
I also think that a lot of people in Nevada City and actually throughout California are saying that at this point in time we should have PG&E not be the one monopolizing our power and the only choice that we have.
Wearing colorful lights, a light. She also told us that a full day without power really took a big hit economically for the entire community here in Nevada City and in fact all of Northern California. She hopes that this is resolved soon. We'll hear more from people here in Nevada City coming up in the next half hour.
All right, thank you for that, Carlos.
All right, Carlos, thank you.
4:36 right now. PG&E says they are cutting this power to prevent wildfires in this weather.
Hank Cavagnaro is live in Placerville, where there is no wind, but the power is still out. Hank.
Economically for the entire community here in Nevada City. And
yeah, there is no wind at all since we've been here around 8 o'clock last night. The wind has been fairly still, but here in Nevada City behind me, that's our light shining on there. This building is completely dark. However, last night up until around 10, 11 o'clock, there were people inside and they brought their own lights in to enjoy the night.
Where there is no wind, but the power is still out.
I don't see the purpose of it. I really don't. I understand the need for having a power outage sometimes to control something, but as we're all talking about it on Main Street and you're visually seeing it, there's nothing going on that would make this a real reason to turn off the power.
And they brought their own lights in to enjoy the night. Gotcha, and that was somebody who is not too happy about this power outages happening here. Again, the wind's not picking up too much, and it's something where people are not seeing the effects that they thought they would see when they're hearing about these power outages. I guess they're seeing the effects, not seeing the causes that they were told about. So definitely an interesting situation. People are definitely upset, and we'll have a little bit more for you in the next half hour. Guys?
Okay, thank you, Hank. It is now 4:38. Millions of people in Northern California are without power right now. So here's what you need to know about this morning. Take a look. Live look at PG&E's outages right now. Over 660,000 customers are without power. So that a customer is one home. So there's millions of people affected here. These purple dots show the planned shutoffs. Some of these people have been without power for more than a day now. Even more, schools are planning to close today because they don't have power. The whole Grass Valley School District is canceling classes and the after-school programs. No classes today at Folsom Lake Community College's Placerville campus. Sparta Unified School District schools are also closed today. We're constantly updating a list of closings on our website. Kirsten?
All right, so everyone is thinking about power or, the lack thereof and fire danger, but there are water concerns in Fairfield and Solano County because of the outage. The city has 2 water treatment plants. One of them is affected by the PG&E power shutoff. Fortunately, it has a battery backup generator, but that means it's only working at about 50%. City officials say the water is safe to drink, but they're asking you to conserve water wherever possible. We spoke with Lieutenant Josiah Jacobson with the Fairfield Police Department about the situation. There are water concerns in Fairfield and Solano County because of the outage. The city has 2 water treatment plants. One of them is affected by the PG&E power shutoff. Fortunately, it has a battery backup generator, but that means it's only working at about 50%. City officials say the water is safe to drink, but they're asking you to conserve water wherever possible. And over in Calaveras County, this water district has spent months getting ready for a shutoff. They have backup generators across the area, but they are also asking people to conserve water as much as possible. Don't wash your cars, fill up your pool, or water your lawn, and only flush your toilets when necessary. All right, so a lot of people are concerned about cell towers during these shutoffs. When the power goes out, that cell phone is your lifeline to help and to stay connected to everyone else.
So are these cell towers affected by the shutoffs? Here's what state officials told us.
Generally, cell towers by all providers had a battery capability for a length of time depending on the draw, but generally 8 hours plus. Most major cell components, the hubs overseeing the remote cell towers, have standby generation. The challenge then becomes not the batteries or the generation, but the capability to get fuel to them to keep them up and operational.
All right, so we're going to go deeper on that one. When you take a look at major hubs, they run for 5 to 7 days. That's why they're bringing in convoys and standby generation. Now, if the power outages go longer than 5 days, they have backup generators and batteries.
Backup to the backup.
Yeah, we got to.
Okay, to help AT&T Wireless and AT&T prepaid customers in areas directly affected by the planned power outages in parts of California connected during this difficult time, cell companies providing unlimited talk, text, and data access by issuing credits and waiving overage charges. This offer is for customers based in 758 specific zip codes. It runs from October 9, 2019 through midnight on October 13. And if you have an old-fashioned landline, you probably won't lose service. The landline phone company systems have battery backups, and they have generators too.
Yeah, okay, so 441 right now. You know what else is an issue? Traffic. No power means no traffic lights.
The city of Santa Rosa tweeting a photo saying they've responded to multiple traffic collisions, including 5 with injuries at intersections without power. They're asking everyone to please slow down, treat all intersections without power as a 4-way stop. If you're not familiar with an area, proceed with caution. Keep your eye out for traffic lights that are not working.
All right, so California politicians are getting an earful, as you can imagine, about these shutoffs. Now, some are trying to direct that anger at PG&E. ABC 10's Brendan Brenneman investigated all things politics and PG&E for our series Firepower Money.
That's right. Brandon found that PG&E spends millions to influence our politics and politicians. It donated more than $4 million just to state-level campaigns in California in the last election. More than 80% of the state legislature took PG&E money. To give you an idea how widespread it is, that's come to a halt since our reporting raised questions about that and got the attention of the federal judge overseeing PG&E's probation.
Yeah, so the company itself was convicted in the deadly fires and is now on probation. Right now, we're dealing with power outages in California because PG&E can't be trusted to keep its power grid safe in high wind. That is why Governor Newsom says that we should all be angry. He said, quote, people should be outraged. They should be infuriated. That's a quote again. Governor Gavin Newsom was quoted this week saying that, and it's not how things should work in the industry. None of us are happy about this. And yet,
yeah, PG&E donated more than $200,000 to Governor Newsom's campaign last year. As part of our reporting, we did ask him this summer if he stands by taking the PG&E money and whether he'd give it back. The governor refused to answer, but it's not just a Democrat thing.
All right, so we're going to go to Doug LaMalfa, a Republican congressman. It seems, he says, as if California, which fancies itself as one of the top world economies, is becoming a third world country. They expect the power to stay on when the wind blows, and that isn't making for a giant leap for mankind. And yet, he says the company that can't seem to get that right gave him some money.
All right, $13,000 in donations from its PAC since the last election cycle. And here's the rub. He represents Paradise in Congress, but he took $5,000 of these dollars from PG&E's PAC after last year's Camp Fire killed 85 people in Paradise, and it wasn't just him.
No, it wasn't. There's more. Jim Nielsen represents Paradise in the state Senate here in Sacramento. He's got a headline on his official site blasting PG&E shutoff as unacceptable. Now, what he can and did accept was a $6,400 donation from PG&E toward his campaign last year. We asked if he'd give it back. his office never responded.
Neither did the state's two major political parties, each of which gladly accepted more than $500,000 from PG&E in the last election cycle, both of which have elected officials acting outraged right now that PG&E's grid is such a mess that we can't trust it to not burn us down.
Okay, so the point is, for all the wailing and gnashing of teeth about PG&E from people in power, PG&E makes a point of protecting its monopoly by pumping money into our politics. Now, when the federal judge asked PG&E why the political spending was more important than fixing its power grid, the company said it wasn't.
But it said it spends the money to make sure its interests are, quote, adequately represented in the halls of power. On this day, when millions of us in California may be literally powerless, we thought you'd like to know.
And this week is the 2-year anniversary of the Tubbs fire that devastated wine country. Our Lilia Luciano went to Santa Rosa to see what the feeling is 2 years later.
She talked to the CAL FIRE chief, who's from Coffey Park, and he responded to the Tubbs fire. He responded to another fire near Santa Rosa. Check it out.
We're in the town of Occidental in Sonoma County. This is about 20 minutes west of Santa Rosa. Brian, can you tell me what's happened here today?
Yeah, we were dispatched for a vegetation fire here in Occidental, right here in town on the outskirts. And we had engines get here pretty quickly, held it to about 1 acre.
Okay.
And it made a good
small.
stop, very
That's
small.
good.
It's steep, as you can see. It's a good stop. We have a lot of people staffed up right now in preparation for the winds.
I heard that there were air crews that came in and were released. Was that what stopped it initially, or was it the ground
They
crews?
help. They give us eyes on it, and we'll
Okay.
lay retardant across the head of it to slow it down.
Do we know what started it?
No, it's under investigation.
Okay, I'm not seeing it. At least I'm not seeing any power lines.
There's no power lines that I see overhead.
It is 2 years to the day, or to the day after the beginning of the Tubbs fire. Do you work that fire? What do you remember?
Yeah,
about
we
2 years
were,
ago?
me and all my coworkers were there that night. Same predictions as tonight. You just never know if it's going to surface, and it did surface. Yeah. And the wind blew hard. Yeah, I grew up in Coffey Park.
Oh, you did?
And
Wow.
a lot of my friends lost their homes, and I was right there when it happened. I've got 20 years in now, and been to a lot of fires, seen a lot of destruction and sadness, but once it was in my own hometown, it did change things a bit, knowing whose houses were burning. And you reach a point, though, where you don't really care about property. You just hope everyone's okay. Yeah. That's all that really matters. You can always rebuild. Yeah. But we like to win as firefighters, and that was a hard one because it didn't feel like we were winning at first, but we got it eventually, and it's just one of those things you can't predict it. You just can try your best and keep a good attitude, and pray everybody's safe.
Get up-to-the-minute information during the largest planned power outage in state history, affecting 800,000 customers in more than 30 counties. Be the first to know breaking updates and alerts delivered straight to your phone. Download the ABC 10 News app now.
Welcome back to Morning Blend, 4:50 on a Thursday.
So, Rob, the wind's going to continue to kick up for a while?
Yeah, I think we're in the most critical time right now where we're seeing the area with the strongest winds basically everywhere. In the coastal range, I keep highlighting this, but this is important. We've seen 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts near Santa Rosa consistently. And I would say north of Calistoga is a better way of putting it. That's really strong, folks. We're also seeing strong wind gusts in the valley right now, and then also strong wind gusts in the Sierra. This is a red flag warning. The area is still the same. It's ongoing for everybody in red right now, basically almost all of Northern California. But what's important is that, during these big weather events, you have to watch for the updates. And there's a big one this morning. Instead of 5 p.m. for the valley, it's now 9 p.m., so a couple hours after sunset. And then for the Sierra, it was going to be 5 p.m. as well. Now it's 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So this is going to be another long, dry, and windy night. I do think, however, as we get deeper into today and tonight, in general, the wind speeds are going to start to slow down, but we still may be on that bubble there for red flag warning conditions because it's dry and at least partially windy. So let's take a look at the wind at the moment. We are seeing some very gusty conditions. Sacramento off to the northwest side of the valley, the foothills of the coastal range. And this is really important because this was not the situation yesterday. But in the high Sierra and the higher foothills, we are looking at some pretty strong wind gusts. Now, maybe not necessarily in Auburn or Placerville, the lower foothills, maybe 800 feet to a couple thousand feet. But above that, oh, for sure, it's happening. And it's the classic disconnect. And I just want to highlight this because consistently, it's not ending. Everybody's saying it's not windy at my house, so what the heck is going on? Let me give you a prime example. Let's get down to Sacramento, 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Then as we get higher up in the foothills, here's Folsom Lake, 20 miles an hour, out toward Cool, 7 miles an hour. So now we're starting to get into the power outage areas, and it's not that windy. Let's be honest with this. But then once you start to move up in elevation towards some of these reservoirs and where some of these transmission lines originate from hydropower, we're seeing 42-mile-an-hour wind gusts, 53-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So it's not necessarily where the outages are, but where the transmission lines are. Absolutely, at the moment, there's some very strong wind happening in those locations. This is what we talked about all day yesterday, but it's worth highlighting. All those red areas, that's the grid that we speak of. And it doesn't matter what's happening at your house. It's any extreme weather along these red lines here. If it's happening there, it may affect you living downstream and where your power is coming from. The classic example of this is for the Camp Fire. Paradise that morning, it was not that windy. It was actually a pretty nice morning. But in the Feather River Canyon, just a little bit over, they had 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts estimated, and the fire broke out there due to a transmission line issue. And very quickly, we know what happens next. So it doesn't matter at your house. It's what's happening upstream, far away from you, where some of these issues may take place. 50s this morning. We're looking at a fairly windy day right now for the valley spots. In fact, watch this camera shake around a little bit. This is pointed toward the Capitol. Pretty consistently, we're going to see wind speeds in the 15 to 20-mile-an-hour range all day today. So again, we're not out of this yet. Later on tonight, a couple hours after sunset, we will start to see things relax for the valley, then the Sierra spots, and then this upcoming weekend, I'm not expecting fire weather, but a nice weekend ahead. Highs in the 70s. One more thing, look at on Thursday, big-time rain chances for everybody. So we are staying tuned for that. Back to you.
Get up-to-the-minute information during the largest planned power outage in state history, affecting 800,000 customers in more than 30 counties. Be the first to know breaking updates and alerts delivered straight to your phone. Download the ABC 10 News app now. The power of information. The speed of news. Faster, stronger, more connected. The all-new ABC 10 Information Network. Connected to you. Powered by Xfinity.
All right, so 4:57 right now. Millions of people are waking up in the dark for the second day in a row, and they are not happy about it.
PG&E has cut the power to more than 600,000 customers. More than 100,000 people remain who may have their power cut. And we're not turning away from the PG&E power shutoffs. Nearly 700,000 customers are without power across Northern California.
Yeah, PG&E has crews ready to inspect those lines. We'll have more at 5.
This is breaking news on Morning Blend.
I don't see the purpose of it. I really don't.
I don't want to sit in 5 days in a house trying to figure things to do in the dark.
It's not fun. You know, power's been off since 12:30 last night. We've got 60 pounds of ice.
They created these conditions. It was unnecessary. Now it's time for them to do the right thing.
Millions of people in the dark for a second day. People are peeved. PG&E has cut the power to more than 630,000 customers. Let's check the outage map. Every purple dot, a community without power, but we're learning 50,000 customers in the Foothill area have had their power cut, and many of the people have been in the dark since midnight Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a long time. PG&E is doing this in some pretty dangerous fire weather. There's a lot of wind, there's no humidity, and that means fires can start and then spread really quickly. So this morning, we're asking you, are these public safety power shutoffs helpful or harmful? You can vote now on the ABC 10 app or go to abc10.com/vote. Let us know what you are thinking.
Yeah.
A lot of people are upset, I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, we're covering this story from every angle. We have been since power was started to be shut off. Thousands of people are in the dark. We have reporters everywhere. Hank Cavanero is in standby in Placerville with some very unhappy people. Britt Moore is tracking the high winds in Vacaville.
Let's get to Britt right now. Hey, Brittany.
Hey, conditions are pretty bad here in Vacaville. We know the Vacaville Fire Protection District fought an early morning vegetation fire here right behind me. It is out now, so crews have cleared that scene. But of course, the high winds, the dry weather, that was definitely a problem for them. So they had to bring in additional resources to help them fight that fire. I want to show you what the scene looked like early this morning. It happened off of Sunnybrook Lane. Deputy Fire Chief Doug Rogers tells me 1 acre of land burned in this fire. There were some wood piles and brush around a home. Thankfully, that home was not damaged in this fire. Listen to what he has to say as it relates to just the amount of resources and effort it takes to fight a fire during these tough conditions.
We call more resources quicker because, as you can tell, we can barely stand up out here. So if we do get a fire established, it's really going to take off on us.
Yeah, thankfully those conditions we're expecting to improve, but the night has been so far quiet for them. But you can hear that wind. It's here. Doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. It's been this way for several hours, but thankfully that fire here off of Sunnybrook Lane didn't turn into something much larger. Guys.
Britt, thank you very much for that update. Obviously, conditions out there actually dangerous with winds blowing. You got to watch out for tree branches. Let's check in with Rob now. Well, how the winds that Brittany is in are going to play out later today. Rob?
Well, Walt, I've got good news and bad news. There is an end to this that we can see in the forecast, but it's not going to be later on tonight for the Sierra foothills, but it should be for the valley locations. So we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But we have to mention, we're in the middle of this right now, and all of this, the power shut off, all of the intensity of the newscast and the constant coverage is because we're worried about a fire breaking out and quickly becoming out of control. We had that scare this morning in the Bay Area. Let me tell you where it happened and give you the latest. This is south of Walnut Creek in a community known as Moraga. It's a beautiful spot. This is a great place to live, to raise a family. It's absolutely gorgeous, but you know what? It's tucked in some rolling hills that are bone dry right now. And when this fire broke out, we were seeing wind gusts in the area upwards of 30 miles an hour plus. It grew quickly. It went from 0 to 50, 60 acres. However, the firefighters were able to jump on it without aircraft, using some of those suburban roads to get access, and they were able to knock it down at this point, 60% containment or more. A lot of crews are in the area, including our very own, trying to get cell phone service out of there. But just letting you know, a big scare, still some evacuation orders, but that's what we're worried about. An area of fire breaking out in an area next to room to grow, and that's exactly what happened, but hopefully a good story there. At least that's what we're hearing so far. But we're not done, because there could be a brand new fire at any moment. The winds are still strong. We're expecting them to continue in the strong category through the rest of this morning. But I want to fast forward to the moment we're starting to see things get better, not worse. By this afternoon, certainly for the valley spots, things start to slow down. And for the higher elevations, we are seeing the same ultimate result. So by the time we get to Friday, things are much, much better. However, just so you know, red flag warning conditions extended in the valley till 9 p.m. Yesterday, I was saying 5 p.m. In the valley, it's until 9. And for the Sierra foothills, officially until Friday, 10 o'clock in the morning. So another long, windy night for those areas. So we'll keep you updated here on the weather and some of the changes in the forecast. But again, that close call in Moraga, that was a nightmare potential unfolding, and thankfully they got a handle of it early. But there's no guarantees for anything else that may break out, because the weather, the seriousness of the weather has not changed overnight, certainly, and for the next several hours at least. Back to you.
Good morning. I'm live in Nevada City this morning, where thousands are still without power when it was shut off since early yesterday morning. The last check on a PG&E's outage map, at least 40,000 PG&E customers in Nevada County were without power. This is Broad Street, right in the heart of downtown here in Nevada City. You can see the lights are on, yes, but these are gas lamps. Take a look here. They're running on these generators here. They've been at it since yesterday night, and people really aren't thrilled about this, and here's the reason why. Let's walk over to these plants to show you they're not moving. That means winds aren't that strong here, and that's why people aren't thrilled about not having power since yesterday. We went to last night's city council meeting at the council chamber. It was actually cut short because the generating powering the lights in there was running out of gas, and people were really frustrated that their power was out, and there was barely a breeze all day yesterday. About 24 people actually gathered outside City Hall last night. They were wearing colorful lights and had a little parade of some sort. They discussed the PG&E outages and how the full day without power had taken a big economic hit for the entire community. Take a listen.
I think it's a little ridiculous because there's no wind, and I totally understand cutting off the power if there's wind, but it's been a non-windy day, and we've all lost business because of it.
Maybe the most 5-mile-an-hour winds, and that was towards the late afternoon, but it's been like this.
We also spoke with Nevada City Mayor Renette Sinham. She told us the city is supportive when things like this do happen because she understands that the winds can be catastrophic. However, she said they haven't been at all catastrophic since yesterday, and she doesn't support this specific outage. She says that PG&E is simply monopolizing all the power, and she said she hopes this is resolved quickly. We'll send it back over to you.
All right, Carlos Herrera in Nevada City, an area that relies a lot on tourism, especially on weekends, which is coming up. Carlos, thank you. You hear the generators powering those street lights. All right, Brittany, how are the roads doing? Affected at all by what's going on with this?
I know. I mean, Walt, yesterday, Carlos showed you traffic backed up for miles. Now, let's talk about gas stations because that is a big concern. I heard a lot of you talking about it yesterday. I just checked. So here are some areas where we have limited gas or no gas in a hard-hit area, Auburn, right? So if you usually get gas, Forest Hill near I-80, you don't really have a lot of options. But I did check one exit below, we do have gas. This is 80 near High Street. You better believe behind the scenes, even if you don't see me on TV, I will answer your questions when it comes to traffic and gas. So let me know on my Facebook page. All right, let's take a look at this. Tracy to Livermore, 205 to 580. Traffic is moving for you right now. I know a lot of people are concerned about your commute into San Francisco. We have no big issues right now, no major delays. El Dorado Hills into downtown, we do have construction, so be on the lookout. As you approach Watt, you're going to see the middle lane is blocked for construction. That is wrapping up. So we still have a lot going on in your traffic center. If you see a traffic light out, you need to treat that as a four-way stop, and I will update you throughout the day, Kirsten.
All right, so a lot of kids have the day off today since their schools don't have power, but new schools are adding to the list. We'll tell you about it coming up.
And the power's out for millions, but does that cause cell towers to go down too? Our verified team has the answer.
I'm Hank Cavanero in Placerville this morning, and as you've heard all over the place, people are not happy about these power outages. Hear more coming up after the break.
Get up-to-the-minute information during the largest planned power outage in state history, affecting 800,000 customers in more than 30 counties. Be the first to know breaking updates and alerts delivered straight to your phone. Download the ABC 10 News app now.
All right, welcome back to Morning Blend. Your time is 5:11. As you know, millions of people in Northern California are without power right now. So here's what you need to know before you go. Take a live look at the PG&E outages right now. Over 630,000 customers are without power. That's millions of people. The purple dots show the planned shutoffs. They are current outages. Some of these people have been without power now for more than a day. And even more, schools are planning to close today because they don't have power. The whole Grass Valley School District is canceling classes and after-school programs. No classes today at Folsom Lake Community College's Placerville campus. Esparto Unified School District schools are also closed today. And new overnight, UC Berkeley says it's canceling classes for the second straight day. We're constantly updating a list of closings on our website. Kirsten.
All right, 5:12 right now. PG&E says they're cutting the power to prevent wildfires during this dangerous, dry, windy weather. Hank Cavanauro is live in Placerville, where there's not a whole lot of wind, but that power is still out this morning. Hank.
Yeah, Kirsten, I don't think it's a secret. People are not happy about this power outages, and they also don't think these power outages were necessary, especially here in Placerville, where somebody last night even went as far as saying there's only 1 mile per hour winds. It's not even a breeze coming through the downtown area, but you know, the power is still out. Now, of course, when you have no power, many of the shops down here were closed and will remain closed until that power is restored. And some believe that this is just causing a headache and that this was a little over precautious, taking too much into this. But yesterday we talked to the owner of a cheese shop actually about her thoughts on these outages. Take a listen.
I don't see the purpose of it. I really don't. I understand the need for having a power outage sometimes to control something, but as we're all talking about it on Main Street and you're visually seeing it, there's nothing going on that would make this a real reason to turn off the power.
Now, even though the wind wasn't felt here, sometimes I learned this last night that it's the power that's up the line, and that's where the winds are, and sometimes they have to cut the power up there so it doesn't make it down here, and that is why the power is out here. Now, that's why those outages are happening. Since this town, though, last night, I can tell you that there's not a whole lot of wind. Like I said at the beginning, somebody said 1 mile per hour in this downtown area. And guys, these people are frustrated as cars start to move this morning. Kirsten?
All right, it is still going to be busy out there even though people are without power. Hank, thank you so much. All right, so you know this is all related to the weather. Rob, tell us, what can people expect today? It's still not windy in some parts. That has people even more upset.
Yeah, exactly. And Kirsten, this is it. This is the story. The story is that people are in communities with no power, and they've been without power for a full day or longer, and it's not windy at their house, and they are not being able to connect the dots about how the grid works, because it doesn't make sense. If you're in your house and it's dark and there's no wind, all you can think about is, why is this happening to me? But I'm going to spend a little bit of time explaining this, because it's an unfortunate reality that the power at your house is almost always generated somewhere else, and it has to get to your house, and it almost always goes through very windy areas. So let's get right into it. This is the area covered by a red flag warning, and it's been extended 9 p.m. for the valley, so that's a couple hours after sunset, and for the Sierra, it's going to be all the way through the evening until 10 o'clock tomorrow. So again, we'll focus on the wind here for a second, because clearly for a lot of spots the wind is happening. If you're in Placerville, not really. Auburn, not really. But just above you, it's ripping right now. The valley, it is strong. And for the coastal range, it is absolutely strong. What you see is the sustained winds. When you add in the gusts, that's the concern. Because remember, for a transmission line to break, it only takes one gust to do it. And we are seeing some very strong wind gusts. 35, 42, 53 miles per hour. So again, if you get closer to where people are without power, Grass Valley, there's no wind in Grass Valley, 4 miles per hour. But once you get out of the area and you get to some of these zones that are very prone to strong, sustained, gusty winds, canyons, passes, ridge tops, guess where the transmission lines are? They're in those exact locations. So again, this is the grid. And here's one other thing worth mentioning. You know, a lot of power in California is generated out of state. In Oregon, in Utah, in Arizona, there's a nuclear power plant that provides power all the way to Southern California and Los Angeles. So it's anywhere along those transmission lines. If there's extreme weather for hundreds and maybe even more than 500 miles away, it can affect everything downstream. It's a massive disconnect. It doesn't make sense, but that's what's going on. For example, Placerville, the winds are not strong, but up towards some of these hydro power plants and some of these transmission lines, and I just showed you the winds are 40, 50 miles an hour. So again, the classic example, this where we can prove that the disconnect is real. Take a look at what happened for the Camp Fire. The Feather River Canyon, which also, by the way, has major power lines that flow through there, transmission lines, and the wind gusts there are 40, 50 miles an hour right now. But when the Camp Fire broke out, they were even stronger, and in Paradise, the weather was not an issue that morning, but in the canyon, it was, and we all saw what happened next. 50s down low, teens up high. I think a big story this morning is that it's windy and it's cold, and we're going to be looking at temperatures that are going to be somewhere in the 70s. We'll fast forward to the wind, and then I'll get to the 10-day because I see some big relief on the way. Today, it's going to be windy and gusty, mostly for probably the next 4 or 5 hours in the most windy areas, and then hour by hour, things get better. 4 o'clock in the morning, things are drastically better. We'll have to see. They may even change that time period for the red flag warning in the mountains because I do see the winds really dying down even there overnight, but it's up to them. It's from the Weather Service. 70s, things get so much better into the weekend, and then here's the big story going into next week. We have a solid chance of rain on the way. Brittany?
All right, if anyone in this room can understand what you're going through right now with no power, it's me. Day 2, I went to Target yesterday, got the last bottle of water, the last flashlight. Oh my goodness, I feel your pain completely. So let's talk about things I know that are important to you. Gas, take a look at this. I was surprised. I was just behind the scenes taking a look at fuel shortages. If you live in Sacramento, there are actually a couple gas stations that are short on gas. This is going to be El Camino near Business 80. So there's like 2 stations right there, limited gas options. Don't worry, I have an option for you. You want to take Marconi, we have some fuel options for you, a couple great gas stations there for you as you head out. So take a look at your drive times. Fairfield into Sacramento, 80. We're looking at 32 minutes right now. If you are headed out, Davis to Fairfield, we're looking at 25 minutes. And of course, the big story, traffic lights out. As more people head out, you're going to see that issue. You'll want to treat that as a 4-way stop, Kirsten.
You got to be careful out there. 519, police in Auburn are doing extra patrols in areas where the power's out. They say they're seeing way more erratic driving. They want people to know just because the power is out, this is not the time to start driving dangerously. Now, as you get ready to head to work today, keep in mind, traffic lights are dark in a whole lot of neighborhoods. Police in Santa Rosa are telling us they responded to several accidents at intersections where the power is out. They say slow down and treat all intersections where the power is out as a 4-way stop sign. Everybody gets a chance to go. And even if your neighborhood does have power, all this wind can bring down trees and damage power lines. Those could come down too, so be on the lookout when you hit the road. PG&E has opened resource centers for folks affected by the outages. It's free. You can charge your phone and get some AC. There's room for 100 people at each location. They're open from 8 until 6 every day for as long as the outages last. We have a full list of locations on our website, abc10.com. Walt?
Yeah, what would you do without your Instagram, Kirsten? You know, you had no power, huh? Yeah, they cut your power right now. You can't respond to me. The power is out for millions this morning, which means none of the usual luxuries of life are working. A lot of our viewers want to know, will the cell phone still work? Our Verified team has the answer next on Morning Blend.
I was like, put my phone down, like.
$523, millions of people are in the dark right now. Most of the usual creature comforts are out of commission. But what about your cell phone? Will it continue to have service after the lights go out? You asked, we verified. Here it is.
There are multiple comments online right now that look like this. Quote, your cell phone won't work if the power goes out at the cell towers, and it will. That claim sounds like common sense, right? If the cell towers lose power, they don't function. But that's not exactly true. In recent years, with fires across the state, the California Public Utilities Commission urged cell providers to put in backup power in high-risk locations, and some of them have already done that. When we reached out, a Verizon rep said many of their towers have backup generators that they will be refilling to keep service during the outages. T-Mobile also said they have generators and batteries to keep services online, as well as temporary generators they can move around. AT&T said they're working to deploy generators and equipment to keep customers connected, and also opening unlimited talk, text, and data to users in the community. We haven't heard back from Sprint yet. Bottom line, don't just assume you won't have service. The idea that all cell towers will shut down without power is actually false. The major providers have generators and backup plans to keep service. And that's an important distinction. Without power and without service, people may be tempted to turn their phones off or put them in an airplane mode to conserve battery. Now that's still a good idea if you can't charge your phone, but also check periodically to see if you do have service and make sure there aren't any alerts or warnings for your area. If you're seeing any other claims out there, send us an email and we'll check them out. With your Verify, I'm Jason Puckett.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about the nightmare scenario that was really close to happening close to the Bay Area. This fire broke out in the middle of the night. It's called the Merrill Fire because it broke out on a road called Merrill Road, or Merrill Circle, I should say. And if you're not familiar with this area, you've got Walnut Creek, you've got Orinda, and then south of that. So beautiful, beautiful part of California, but it's tucked in there in rolling hills. So this is where it started, but the wind speeds, they're strong, gusts up to 30 miles an hour or stronger. But I want to highlight what happened with this fire. Open terrain right next to suburbia, winding roads and homes very close together. They call this the urban wildland interface. You want to know why? Urban wildland interface, because if something starts in this open vegetation, it quickly can move into neighborhoods, and that's exactly what was unfolding hours ago. I can tell you right now from crews on the ground, they're actually letting people back into their neighborhood, but they're still trying to get it totally out. But the reason there was so much concern was this: if it was able to escape past the neighborhood, look what's next with the wind direction. Wide open, rolling hills, dry terrain, and you know what's over the hill? Oakland and the true urban interface in the Bay Area. So they were able to pinch this one, but from now until later on this morning, at any moment, a new fire could break out. Carlos?
Thousands in Nevada City still without power this morning. Coming up on Morning Blend, why the mayor and the business owners of the city known for its tourism aren't too thrilled about the outages. Britt?
And we're live in Vacaville this morning where firefighters battled an overnight brush fire while winds here strengthened.
This is breaking news on Morning Blend.
We're up in arms about this. This is not the way to treat consumers and citizens of California.
These events historically are the events that cause the most destructive wildfires in California history.
Okay, what we do have right now is more than 1 million people in the dark after PG&E cut power to hundreds of thousands of homes in Northern California. They're doing it because of the hot, dry weather and the wind that we've been seeing, the strongest winds that we have seen in a long time. Not just the winds, but the gusts as well.
All right, that's right. So if you got a second, take a look at your screens. This is a live look at PG&E's outages. The purple dots, those are areas affected by the public safety power shutoffs. Now, some of these people have been without power for more than a day now. PG&E has restored power to 50,000 people in the Sierra foothills, and they expect to restore power to another 60 to 80,000 by this morning. Now, the point of all this is to prevent fires. So this morning, we're asking you, do you think the planned outages are helping prevent wildfires?
Yeah, that's tough because you don't know, right?
Yeah, right.
If you left the power on and your home burns down in your town, then you're like, why wasn't the power off?
It's a very difficult thing to prove because you don't really know.
Right.
Now they plan to inspect all of these lines. I can imagine a scenario where maybe they find something and would put that out there. We found an issue with this line in this area so people can imagine, well, if the power were on, what would happen? But we don't know because we're right in the middle of this.
Yeah, we are.
And remember, this is a fire story ultimately. I know people without power, your reality is you're dealing with no power and life is totally disrupted. But there's something worse, and that's what happened in this community of Moraga. So this is south of Orinda. I want to show you where this fire broke out. Now, it broke out in an open area, but right next to homes. They had to evacuate 100 to 200 homes. Some of those people are coming back because they've got a pretty good handle of this one. When it broke out, 31-mile-per-hour wind gusts. You could see the smoke. You could see the flames. Everyone's scrambling to get out of there. So this is the scenario that everyone is hoping does not happen. Now, remember, they got a handle on this one. There's no guarantee that the next thing that breaks out will become out of control. Remember, if it made it past that suburb right there, that little finger of homes, it had wide open terrain. On the other side of that is Oakland Hills.
This just broke out not long ago.
Right, 2 o'clock in the morning it broke out.
Right. Remember when it first sparked. Okay, Rob, thank you. We will check back with you. Our team coverage continues this morning. We're joined by Britt Moore, live in Vacaville. The wind is really whipping right now. Britt.
Yeah, conditions are so bad right now that the Vacaville Fire Protection District had to call for additional resources when they were battling an overnight brush fire here off of Sunnybrook Lane. I want to show you what that scene looked like early this morning to get a better idea of just why they needed so many resources. The Deputy Fire Chief, Doug Rogers, telling me 1 acre of land burned here. There were some wood piles and brush around the house. The house itself did not catch on fire, but they put this thing out relatively quickly. They say they made sure to do all they could to prevent this fire from spreading.
We call more resources quicker because, as you can tell, we can barely stand up out here. So if we do get a fire established, it's really going to take off on us.
Exactly. Still difficult to stand out here, just the dust blowing in our faces. So likely going to continue throughout the morning if you're planning to head out in all of this. But again, the fire district says the night has been relatively quiet for the most part, so they're thankful for that, guys.
All right, that's Britt Moore with the very latest from very windy Vacaville. For folks heading on 80 between Sacramento and San Francisco, beware of that as well. All right, let's check in with Rob now with more.
You know, Walt, just as we were watching her out there, and she's doing a great job letting us know what's going on in Vacaville with the strong winds, we just had a gust blow through right now, as you can hear. So folks, it may seem like it's over or it's going to change soon, but you know, this is ultimately a weather story, and we were able to get ahead of this and let you know that it's coming. And we know with everything lining up, we still have a ways to go. In fact, some of the red flag warning conditions are extended. It's still going to be windy and dry well into this evening, so it may feel like we're done with this. When the sun comes up, you know, usually you start to see the wind speeds come down in a situation like this, but everything's lining up for critical fire conditions for a while. So let's go ahead and get you right to it. Out here in the Gilmore backyard, it is quite chilly out here because when you throw in the cool temps and the wind, there is a wind chill effect. So this is what we have for wind at the moment. These are sustained winds. The stronger gusts are going to be 40, 50 miles an hour, upwards of 70 near Santa Rosa. I would say north of Calistoga is one spot. St. Helena, where we've seen the strongest wind gusts, upwards of tropical storm force sustained winds that's above 45 miles an hour. It's been in the 50s all night long, and some gusts up to 74. But elsewhere, we can see that things start to get better. 9 p.m. is when we think that the red flag warning will expire for the valley, but it's extended until tomorrow morning, maybe all the way up till 10 o'clock in the morning for areas of the foothills. So folks, this is new information. This is a change from yesterday. It was 5 p.m. for everybody that it should be done with today, but a little bit longer in the valley, by 4 hours, and maybe an overnight situation again for the mountains. We've got 50s down low and 40s and teens up high. So remember, fire weather conditions are not temperature related. It feels like that in the summer because we quite often see that in the summer when it's hot, windy, and dry. All you need for it to be is windy and dry. Fire will take care of itself in that regard. So again, the temperatures continuing to come down for some of us, especially certainly this morning. You can pick a spot. There's your temperatures. Someone's going to end up basically in the 70s anywhere you look, except for the higher elevations. But I would say the number one story is the continued dry and windy conditions. Some of the strongest winds of this entire event are happening right now, especially in the Sierra, and we have a long way to go, well into this evening and maybe till Friday morning, tomorrow morning for the Sierra.
Wow, Rob, we can see what's going on behind you, and we can definitely hear it. So it's definitely still on.
Oh, goodness.
One area where people are really being hit hard by the power shutoffs is Nevada City, and a lot of people there are very peeved about not having juice.
Yeah, no one's happy about this. ABC 10's Carlos Herrera is live in Nevada City. Carlos, how are people dealing with these outages, though?
Well, you're right. They're not really happy about it. Nevada County, at last check on PG&E's outage map, 40,000 customers still without power. They shut it off early yesterday morning. Here in Nevada City, thousands as well. I'm on Broad Street. This is a main thoroughfare here, runs through the heart of the city. You can see the lights are on here on Broad Street, but don't let that fool you, though. These run on gas, and again, these don't run on electricity, so definitely without power this morning. In terms of the winds and why people aren't really happy, they've really picked up a little bit this morning, but not enough to make a difference. Take a look at this plant here, not really moving enough. That's exactly why people are upset this morning. We talked to them yesterday. They were saying, well, we haven't really seen those strong winds blow through our city as PG&E said they would. So why is our power out? We also attended last night's city council meeting. It was cut short, actually, because the generator powering the lights in the council chambers was running out of gas. About 24 people gathered outside City Hall last night as well. They were wearing colorful lights. They had a light parade of some sorts. They discussed the PG&E's outages and why it's really impacting the community. We also spoke with Nevada City Mayor Renette Sinham. She told us the city is supportive with having a power outage during any catastrophic wind event, but she said they were simply having those strong winds yesterday.
I also think that a lot of people in Nevada City and actually throughout California are saying that at this point in time we should have PG&E not be the one monopolizing our power and the only choice that we have.
And Walt, Kirsten, you made a great point in the last half hour. Nevada City really relies a lot on tourism. They were expecting a lot of tourists actually coming through here this weekend. The mayor told us that they're really taking a big hit for the full day of power outages. They're expecting the power to be off all day today again. So she says she hopes this is resolved rather quickly. Coming up in the next half hour, we'll hear from business owners who aren't really thrilled about this.
Yeah, Nevada City, like so many other people, could take a huge economic hit with all this outages. Thank you.
That is a weekend vacation destination for a lot of people. All right, Carlos, thank you. We're hearing from more schools planning to close today because they don't have power. The whole Grass Valley School District is canceling classes and after-school programs. There'll be no classes at Folsom Lake Community College's Placerville campus. Esparto Unified School District schools are closed. And new overnight, UC Berkeley is canceling classes for a second straight day. We have a full list on our website, abc10.com. Brittany?
All right, police in Auburn, they're doing extra patrols in the area where we don't have power. The department says they're also seeing an increase in erratic driving. They want people to know just because power is out does not mean it's time to start driving dangerously. On that note, in that area, taking a look at your gas prices as we come back to the map. This is an area of concern as well. We just checked in again with Gas Buddy. As we take a look at not having gas, a lot right now, Forest Hill near I-80, that's the trend. So if you usually get gas in this area, I want you to go down about a mile. You can see High Street as you approach I-80. We have a lot of options for you, but if you usually take Forest Hill, we don't have gas in that area. So that's something we are going to update you on throughout the day. I can check behind the scenes for you as well if you're concerned about gas in your neighborhood. Fairfield to Sacramento. Traffic is moving, but what we've been telling you all day is we're concerned about the wind. So you still need to take it nice and slow, both hands on your steering wheel, and make sure to have that conversation with your team driver, because sometimes if you have a smaller car, you can find yourself shifting all over the interstate, and that's the last thing you want to do on I-80. As we take a look at Davis to Fairfield, 80 westbound, we're looking at 26 minutes. I will stay on top of this, answer all your questions that you have on TV, online, and of course on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And I'm here in Placerville, where most people are frustrated with the power outages so far due to the mostly calm winds they've had, but we spoke with a parent who thinks it's the right move. We'll have that after the break.
The speed of news. Faster, stronger, more connected. The all-new ABC 10 Information Network. Connected to you. Powered by Xfinity. Get up-to-the-minute information during the largest planned power outage in state history, affecting 800,000 customers in more than 30 counties. Be the first to know breaking updates and alerts delivered straight to your phone. Download the ABC 10 News app now.
All right, so welcome back, everybody. We're taking a live look at PG&E's public safety power shutoff map. Those purple dots, those were PG&E cut power as a wildfire prevention method. Those people are without power right now. So far, PG has restored power to 50,000 people. They're expecting to get it back on for another 60 to 80,000 by this morning. That's a little bit of good news. If you want a link to this map, though, we can text it to you. All you got to do is text the word shutoff, all one word, to 916-321-3311. Okay, so we know that this is all related to the weather. It's dry, it's windy. Let's check in with Rob to see exactly what we can expect today. Is it going to get better or did it get worse?
It's going to get better eventually. I really like what I see ahead for the valley spots by this evening, close to sunset, maybe a couple hours afterward. Unfortunately, it looks like red flag warning conditions will exist overnight until the morning for the Sierra foothills up to about maybe 7,000 feet. So these are extensions. This is an expansion of the time period that we're going to have those conditions for almost all of Northern California. So that's a change from what I was talking about yesterday, adding more hours to this. The area is still the same. It's just more hours at the end of this. I want to focus on a couple things because it is relentless. The comment that it's not windy where I live, so there's no reason I should be losing power. And I'll go into that because I think that this needs to be addressed immediately and let everybody know how this all works. What we're seeing right now is strong wind gusts for everybody, except in some spots like Placerville and Auburn, it's not that bad, but you can see the areas that are being affected, the valley spots, the coastal range, and higher up for the Sierra. So let me give you a prime example. Here's Folsom Lake, and here's roughly El Dorado Hills area. 20-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That's, it's not slow, but it's certainly nothing compared to what's going on higher up. 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts. 53-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Folks, that's pretty strong, and it's been that way all night long. If anything, in some cases, it's getting stronger. And that's where we get down to this point. If you're in Placerville or Auburn, it's not making sense because where you live, it's not windy, and it hasn't really been that windy. Let's face it, that's not really what's going on in your neighborhood, but it's these transmission lines that extend to where the power is actually generated. It's generated, and then it's moved to your neighborhood. And for a lot of these, it's hydroelectric dams way up in the mountains, or in some cases, it's power generated out of state. And then it's got to get up and over the Sierra through windy canyons and passes and ridge tops. It just so happens that where these transmission lines are happen to be among the windiest spots. And if there's extreme weather anywhere along these lines, not necessarily your neighborhood, but anywhere along these lines, that's what they're looking at. It's an unfortunate reality, and a reality that we all experienced not too long ago with the Camp Fire. Let me give you an example. I was working that morning. I remember how it played out. Paradise, Chico, all the places downstream, it was not that windy. It was actually a nice morning. But in the Feather River Canyon, it was extremely windy. These canyons funnel that wind, speed it up, and that's where we saw very strong wind gusts, 60 miles an hour or stronger. That's where there was an issue with the power line, and we all know what happened next. So in Paradise, didn't make any sense until the flames and the embers came over the hill, and we saw a lot of wind after that. 50s this morning, again, red flag warning conditions until tonight for the valley, maybe until tomorrow morning for the Sierra. But I'll tell you this much, once we get deeper into Friday, everyone's going to breathe a sigh of relief because the weather, at least, should not be conducive for fire weather this upcoming weekend. Now we're going to get a live report from one of the places I was talking about just now in Placerville.
That's right, I'm here in Placerville where many people are not happy with the power outages, mostly because they haven't really seen any wind yet. And while many people have voiced their displeasure over the power outages, there are some who do think it's a good idea. We spoke with Mother Cindy Kersey, a local mother who is taking advantage of the PG&E community centers, which the company has set up in places affected by the power outages. They're a place where you can fill up or sit in some AC, charge up any devices you may have, and just find out more information. Now, Kersey says that she would rather be safe and go without power for a few days than risk the devastating wildfires like the state saw last year. Take a listen.
A fire would be much worse, wouldn't it? I don't want to lose my house. And we live in an area where houses are kind of close together, so I'm fine. This is an inconvenience. This is not Hurricane Katrina. We're not losing lives.
So another thing to keep in mind is the fact that while it may not be windy where you're living, a nearby area may be dealing with dangerous conditions such as high wind, and due to the fact that they may be connected on the power grid, that might be the reason why power needs to be cut to your area. And many of you have asked stuff such as where can you charge your phones, where can you get gas, or your phone's gonna work? Well, we have a list of resources to help you get through these power outages, and you can find that list on our website at abc10.com. Walt?
Ian, thank you. Updating us all from Placerville, El Dorado County. Governor Newsom is reacting to those PG&E power shutoffs and is not happy about it, to say the least.
They've created these conditions. It was unnecessary. We're doing everything in our power. My gosh, doing everything in our power to help them help themselves. Now it's time for them to do the right thing and get out of bankruptcy and get this system to the 21st century.
He did go on to acknowledge the shutoffs were necessary to keep people safe with strong winds posing a wildfire risk. Brittany?
At 5:49, as you get ready for work, keep in mind traffic lights are out in some neighborhoods. Now, police in Santa Rosa say they responded to multiple accidents at intersections where we didn't have power. So remember, you want to treat that as a four-way stop and make sure to have that conversation with your teen driver. Okay, about 10 minutes ago, I told you if you live in Auburn, we're still watching gas for you. So Forest Hill near I-80, several gas stations in your neck of the woods are without power or gas. You want to take High Street. I found this interesting, though, when I was on Gas Buddy taking a look at different areas. Sacramento has a couple of gas stations as well with limited gas options. So if you fill up El Camino as you approach Business 80, I'm just going to put a caution flag out for you. It's something I'm going to watch throughout the day, but it definitely was a surprise for me. So as you head out, if you need gas, you can take Marconi to get some gas in that area. If you usually take 5 northbound in the Elk Grove area, we have a minor fender bender 5 as you approach the Cap City Freeway. Will it slow you down? No, but let's face it, it's a stressful day. And if you're waking up with us, we're going to make sure you have no surprises. So your drive time 5 northbound into Elk Grove, we're looking at 20 minutes. If you take 99, you'll save a couple of minutes, a total drive time of 18 minutes. And of course, I'll update you throughout the day, Walt.
All right, Brittany, thank you. It is 5:50. Time now for your business headlines. Millions of Social Security recipients will get cost of living increases next year, about 1.6%. That comes to about $24 a month for the average retired worker. Every little bit helps. That's less than this year's cost of living adjustment, which was an increase of about 2.8%. Uber Pet is hitting the road. The app is adding a new feature in select cities, letting passengers indicate that they have a pet along for the ride. If the driver's okay with that, the passenger will pay a surcharge. It's an attempt to cut back on cancellations. Sometimes Uber drivers don't want pets in their cars, and they cancel the ride at the last second because the passenger didn't tell them that they indeed had a pet. Service animals will always be allowed at no extra charge. We'll be right back. 5:56 breaking news from Moraga. A wildfire sparked overnight about 2 a.m., forcing people from their homes. CAL FIRE calls this the Merrill Fire, burning just south of St. Mary's College, which is also without power. As of right now, it has burned about 40 acres. Containment is 50%. So containment pretty good, Kirsten, for something that started about 4 hours ago.
Yes, it is. That is an incredible video right there. Okay, 5:56 right now. Here's what you need to know before you head out the door. Do not, I repeat, do not run your generator inside your house. Auburn firefighters showed up to a carbon monoxide leak at a home in downtown Auburn because somebody put their generator inside and it was running. Firefighters say properly placed carbon monoxide detectors saved this family's life. And PG&E has open resource centers where the power is out. There are free places to go so folks can charge their phone and get some AC. They have room for 100 people at every location. They're open from 8 until 6. If you need a full list, go to our website, abc10.com. Hey, Rob.
All right, so here's the deal. We are right in the middle of it. We've seen some of the strongest wind gusts of this entire thing overnight tonight and early this morning, especially for the Sierra foothills. So we're not done yet. Highs in the 70s, windy all day long, but some of these red flag warnings start expiring late tonight and early tomorrow morning. Here's Brittany, who is PG&E customer 600,001 without power this morning.
It is true. Day 2 without power for me and so many other people. Traffic to go quickly. Here's what you need to know. Davis to Fairfield, we're looking at 26 minutes. Guys, as you come in, I have no power. I went to Target yesterday, got the last flashlight, last case of water, and the last battery charger. So definitely hard-hit areas.
You know what?
I'm exhausted.
If I was behind you in line, I'd be a little upset with you right now.
That's true.
You took the last of everything.
And they charged me $34 for that sucker. I'm bitter.
All right.
Oh, okay.
So real quick, we're going to check back in on our question of the day. Is it helpful or harmful to have these power shutoffs? Rachel says very harmful. We'll have more at 6.
This is breaking news on Morning Blend.
I don't see the purpose of it. I really don't.
I don't want to sit in 5 days in a house trying to figure things to do in the dark.
It's not fun. You know, power's been off since 12:30 last night. We've got 60 pounds of ice.
They've created these conditions. It was unnecessary. Now it's time for them to do the right thing.
All right, so millions of people are not happy about all of this. They are in the dark for the second day. PG&E has cut power to more than 600,000 customers. Let's take a look now at the PG&E map. Every purple dot in a community that has no power. But we're learning 50,000 customers in the Sierra foothills have had their power restored. We didn't really see that coming. We figured when the power was off, it was going to be out for a while. So there are many people whose power has been out for more than 24 hours.
Yeah, PG&E is doing this in some pretty dangerous fire weather. We've been telling you about that. Rob has been telling you about that. Okay, so there's a lot of wind. There's no humidity, and that can start fires and then help them spread really quickly. Okay, so this morning we're asking you, do you think the power shutoffs are helpful or harmful. A lot of people are angry, but we want to hear from you. Vote now at abc10.com/vote, or you can open up the app and vote that way.
Look at this. Look at this. You exactly split down the middle. But let me tell you something. We had that scenario break out yesterday near Rio Vista, near 113. We had a fire breakout. Not power outage related. It was from a tractor that had an issue, is what the gentleman said. And then we had a fire breakout in a power outage area. We don't know the cause of it, obviously. But, you know, this is something that we have seen fires break out, and they've grown quickly. Luckily, they were able to get a handle on those, but you never know when the new one may start.
You know, you made a good point. We were talking earlier. When PG&E shuts down all the power, you'll never know for sure whether that's working or not working, because how do you know if it worked or not?
Exactly.
It's erring on the side of caution.
Unless they inspect the lines and clearly see something that could have started it, that is a possibility. We will find out in the days ahead.
All right, Rob, thank you. We're covering this story from every angle. Carlos Herrera is in Nevada City, where thousands of people have been in the dark. Hank Cavanero is on standby in Placerville. Some people there are very unhappy. We've heard from them all morning long. But first, we check with Britt Moore, who is tracking the high winds in Vacaville. If you're traveling on 80 through Vacaville, Fairfield, Britt is right there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Winds are so strong here in Vacaville, so much so that the Vacaville Fire Protection District had to call for additional resources when they were battling an overnight brush fire, relatively small, but they wanted to make sure they had a handle on things. I want to show you what that scene looked like early this morning. This is off of Sunnybrook Lane. Now, the Deputy Fire Chief, Doug Rogers, telling me 1 acre of land burned. There were some wood piles and brush around a home. Now, that house itself did not catch on fire. Good news there. So they put this thing out relatively quickly because they called for those additional resources, but they made sure to do all they could to prevent this thing from spreading.
We call more resources quicker because, as you can tell, we can barely stand up out here. So if we do get a fire established, it's really going to take off on us.
Yeah, and the good news here in Vacaville, that deputy fire chief telling me things have been relatively quiet for them so far, at least through the night. So we'll see how things play out the rest of the morning, but it's definitely something they are staying on top of. Guys?
That's Brittany Moore reporting live from the Vacaville Fairfield area. So, Rob, let me take it to you. Obviously, if you're traveling on 80 between Sacramento and San Francisco, you have a high-profile vehicle like a tractor trailer or an RV. That's going to be an issue today, right now.
Right. You know, we're talking about power outages and fire weather and fires actually breaking out and all this. But, you know, for a lot of people, maybe your situation is your commute and anything that goes east-west. And there's a lot of east-west roads around Northern California, like 80 and 5 between Woodland and Sacramento. It's a crosswind, and that's going to take those high-profile vehicles and certainly push them around. So what you're looking at here on your screen are some of the yeah, there we go. So this is what we're looking at, folks. We'll get to that other story later on. The red area is where, in fact, a fire did break out. The Moraga area. This is south of Orinda. Beautiful area, hilly. People want to live there because it's great, but on a day like today, it is in a tough spot. A fire did break out with 30-mile-an-hour gusts. And look where it broke out, in an open area with some grazed land there is what they're saying. And that may have helped limit some of the fire growth because the wind was certainly there and it certainly was dry enough, and they did have evacuations. And the big concern is this, folks. Anytime a fire breaks out, it's where it's going next. If it was able to make it through that suburb, it would go up and over those hills, and then you can see just on the other side, we have the Oakland Hills among many other areas very vulnerable to wildfires. This is the wind situation right now. You know, for the Sierra foothills in Placerville, Auburn, for the lower spots, it's not that windy, but you go up above those spots, it is ripping right now. 40 to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. I can show you that later on. And in the certainly where we just saw the Vacaville area, it's windy for the valley floor and in the coastal range. Let me fast forward to later on today. We're looking at wind speeds that are going to be strong pretty much all day long, but give it some time. Late today, things do start to get better rather than worse. This is right now some of the worst times for the wind to be this strong because it's dark. If anything breaks out, there's no guarantee they'll be able to get a handle on it like that last one near the Bay Area. Back to you, Carlos.
Hey, good morning, Rob. We're live in Nevada City this morning. 40,000 PG&E customers in Nevada County without power this morning. Was shut off yesterday. Thousands without power here. This is Broad Street right in the heart of Nevada City. Take a look here. lights are on, but these are all gas lamps. They do not run on electricity. I want to zoom into that generator over there. That generator is actually connected to business in Broad Street here this morning. It's been running since yesterday. The owner had it on to kind of prevent all the food from spoiling here. Of course, some businesses decided to close early yesterday when the power was shut off. Others decided to stay open. This is one of the shops, Bonanza Market, right here off of Broad Street. We spoke with Ali, who is the owner of it. He says he lost a lot of money here yesterday, although he stayed open because he had to close 3 hours early. We spoke with him. We were supposed to speak with him live, but he was busy inside. But again, one of the many businesses in this area that's losing money. Of course, this is a big tourist destination, especially as you head closer to the weekend. So, of course, a big, huge economic impact. We have some video that we shot yesterday from the city council meeting at these council chambers. That meeting was actually cut short because the generator that was powering the lights actually ran out of gas. We also heard from about 24 people who were gathered outside City Hall last night. They were wearing colorful lights. A little light parade was kind of happening yesterday as well. They were discussing PG&E outages and how the full day without power had taken a big economic hit for the community. We also spoke with the Nevada City Mayor Renette Sinham. She told us the city is supportive with having these power shutoffs during catastrophic wind events, but she says, you know what, winds haven't been felt here since yesterday. I'll tell you what, right now, since we got here, they have picked up just a little bit, but of course not as strong as people here have been expected. So again, guys, Ali is here. We're gonna take just a quick couple of questions. You had to close yesterday, right? Early, you closed early, 3 hours early, you mentioned. You lost a lot of money.
Yeah, because early in the morning we were supposed to open at 6 in the morning, but yesterday as power was out, so we opened at 8 in the morning, so 2 hours late. And we closed by 10. So yesterday we closed by 5:50. So huge loss because people can't use debit cards, no ATM, and only thing they have to pay through cash.
This is a big tourist destination for everyone here. Business owners are really feeling the impact.
Yeah, people from different area, they comes over here to visit. So they buy a lot of stuff like beer, food, dairy food. So all the things we kept in the fridge, they went bad. So that's a huge loss, not just to our stores, but all the stores we have over here. Restaurants are closed. People who are using like Uber, Lyft, because when you don't have cellular service, you can't book anything. And people who are totally dependent on full-time working on Uber and Lyft, even I do part-time. So yesterday I couldn't do it. So there's huge loss to a single person and the business owners as well.
There you have it, Ali. Thank you. Good luck with that. Again, there you have it. People with really upset about these power outages. We'll keep hearing from them on Morning Blend. We'll send it back over to you guys.
You know, Carlos, that's the guy who's affected. You know, you got that guy or the homeowner whose food is bad. But when you talk about businesses, that guy right there who's just trying to keep it going, he's the guy that we want to hear from, right?
Definitely, and as you mentioned earlier on Morning Blend, Nevada City, a big tourist attraction here in Northern California. So you can imagine how badly they're impacted by these power outages.
Yeah.
They're expecting to be without power for the rest of the week. So you can imagine that.
Yeah, if that goes through a weekend, Nevada City, Grass Valley, that's big bucks for a lot of people. Okay, Carlos, thank you. Thank you for getting the voice of the people on there. All right, Brittany, what's happening with the roads right now?
All right, well, let's talk about a couple of concerns that you do need to know about right now as you head out. Again, let's start off with Auburn. A lot of people without power and several gas stations without power or gas. So if you usually fill up Forest Hill as you approach I-80, you're going to have a really tough time finding a gas station. However, I did find some great options for you about a mile up from that location. If you fill up High Street near I-80, you should have no problems filling up, at least for right now. All right, the other concern right now, as Rob's been telling you, is wind conditions, especially over the Yolo Causeway. We all know what a headache that can be on a bright sunny day. You throw in the wind and we could have a lot of issues. So make sure to take it nice and slow, both hands on your steering wheel. So drive times, Davis to Fairfield, we're looking at 27 minutes. Fairfield into Sacramento, now we are looking at 32 minutes. I have a feeling that's going to change, and we're going to update you on TV, online, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have your back this morning. So drive times, Davis to Fairfield, we're looking at 27 minutes. Fairfield into Sacramento,
people here in Placerville still aren't too thrilled about these power outages. The power is still out going on for more than 24 hours. Hear what people are saying coming up next. People here in Placerville still aren't too thrilled about these power outages. The power is still out going on for more than 24 hours. Hear what people are saying coming up next.
My what?
Mic check 109876543321. Like, what can you plug stuff in?
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Get up-to-the-minute information during the largest planned power outage in state history, affecting 800,000 customers in more than 30 counties. Be the first to know breaking updates and alerts delivered straight to your phone. Download the ABC 10 News app now.
So we continue to follow that breaking news. ABC 10's Giacomo Luca is in Moraga. Overnight, a wildfire sparked really about 2 a.m. People had to get out. Giacomo, what's the situation there? It's near St. Mary's College.
Well, that's right, Walt. Fortunately, that fire is now under control. I learned that it was about 40 acres, but fortunately, about 150 firefighters, they raced in to tackle that wildfire, but certainly a rude awakening for folks that live in that neighborhood. About 170 families were evacuated just after 1 o'clock in the morning. They're now here where we're at St. Monica's Parish Church. They were set up in a small evacuation center. The American Red Cross came in very quickly to help these folks out, keep them warm. But this is in one of those areas that's in a public safety power shutoff, so nobody had power here. How'd they get the warning? Well, police had to go door to door knocking. Some folks got knocks from their family members or friends who actually saw the fire late in the morning and also heard the fire trucks coming in. Certainly something that folks were definitely concerned about and has been a big point of concern, but fortunately, like I said, firefighters say they have it under control. About 70 people have been, 70 families actually have been allowed back in, but there's still a number of families that are not allowed back in, and we're continuing to monitor this. We'll have more coming up later on. Walt.
Thank you, Giacomo.
PG&E says that they cut the power to prevent wildfires during the hot, dry, windy weather. Hank Cavanero is live in Placerville, where there's not a whole lot of wind, but the power is still out, and that has people really upset. Understandably so, Hank.
Yeah, we've talked to people all yesterday, and as you can imagine, not very many people are too positive about the power outages. Some of them even saying it's just downright unnecessary. Even the most positive people still think it's, a little much right now. Of course, though, when you have this many power outages, these businesses down here in Placerville, they are closed and will remain closed until this power is restored. A couple of businesses were open last night, but only by candlelight. Now, some believe this is just causing a headache, and PG&E is being over precautious. Yesterday, we talked to the owner of a cheese shop, and she has her thoughts on these power outages.
I don't see the purpose of it. I really don't. I understand the need for having a power outage sometimes. To control something, but as we're all talking about it on Main Street and you're visually seeing it, there's nothing going on that would make this a real reason to turn off the power.
But even though the wind has not been an issue here in particular, Kirsten, I heard Rob talking about it earlier as well. It's sometimes those high winds farther upstream, for lack of a better term, on these power lines. If that could be an issue, then they're going to shut it off, which causes that trickle-down effect. And that's most likely what's happening down here. Even though those winds aren't affecting this area in particular, that could be the issue. Kirsten?
Yeah, that's definitely the issue for that area. Hank, thank you so much for your reporting. Rob, we've been saying that for a while now. People, they're just really not feeling that. They're still really upset, even though we've told them that it's not affected by the wind where you are.
Right, exactly. And I want to dive into that because that is the pressure point. That is the point that everybody brings up. If it's not windy at my house, I don't get it. Why would I lose power? You have to understand how it all works. So let me get into this. Issue number one, these red flag warnings extended 4 more hours for the valley spots and overnight till Friday in the morning. Now, yes, the wind speeds will be coming down from where we are right now gradually, but we're still within that windy and dry territory to warrant a red flag warning. That's been extended by several hours, if not overnight, for some of these areas. The wind at the moment, it is strong, it is gusty. We're seeing some really strong wind gusts for the higher elevations. And just to bring out this point again, you can see that for some of these spots, there's El Dorado Hills, a 20-mile-an-hour gust. That's not that windy. Grass Valley, Nevada City, 4 miles an hour. That's not windy at all. However, look how close, just very close in some of these canyons and passes where these big transmission lines are. 42-mile-an-hour gusts, 53-mile-an-hour gusts. We've seen that all night long, and in some of these places, it's actually increasing. So it is frustrating because it doesn't make sense to your reality and what you've been going through. And if I was in my house with no power and I'm looking outside and there's not a breath of wind, I would be frustrated as well. But when you understand where your power is coming from via the grid, hopefully it makes a little bit more sense. It doesn't make the problem go away, but hopefully it makes a little bit more sense. Let me give you one more example. There's Placerville. In some cases, your transmission lines of how you get power in that community might be going upstream to a hydroelectric dam. And if there's extreme weather for anywhere along these lines, and in some cases, your power may be coming from out of state, from Oregon, from Utah, from a nuclear power plant in Arizona. It's all tied to the grid, and it depends on how it's coming to you. The prime example of this was the campfire in Paradise. It was not a windy morning. I was working that morning. It was not windy there, but in the Feather River Canyon, not too far away up Highway 70, strong wind gusts that morning up to 60 miles an hour plus. Power line issue, and we all know what happened next. So again, it's a frustrating point. We've been hearing about it for days now, but that's how things are laid out. Let me tell you this. I showed you the red flag warning extended. Once we get to Friday morning, everybody should be moving out of this stuff, and the weekend ahead should be much better. But the next question is, when is the power coming back on? For that, we don't know.
That is a question I'm asking at my house for sure. All right, let's talk about traffic, some things that you need to know as you head out. So earlier we told you if you live or work in the Auburn area, Forest Hill, a lot of gas stations are without gas in that area. You want to take High Street. Don't forget, a lot of places still have traffic lights that aren't working. You need to treat that as a four-way stop. When I was taking a look at all of our gas options in Sacramento, just heads up, a couple of gas stations, believe it or not, El Camino as you approach Business 80, have limited fuel options options. It's one of the few places we have problems in Sacramento. But hey, just a heads up for you, you want to take Marconi to avoid some of those delays in terms of gas. That's always a problem, right? All right, Teresa to Livermore. Speaking of problem spots, traffic is still building as some folks head to the Bay. You can see we are looking at 49 minutes. And then El Dorado Hills, again, some people without power, you want to treat that as a four-way stop in terms of traffic lights. But once you make your way into Sacramento, we are looking at 21 minutes. So traffic is building across the map. We are going to update you on TV, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We have your back this morning.
Your time is 6:25. Good Thursday morning. Millions of people are still in the dark, and most of the usual creature comforts are out of commission. What about your cell phone? Will it continue to have service after the lights are out? You asked. Jason Puckett verifies.
There are multiple comments online right now that look like this. Quote, your cell phone won't work if the power goes out at the cell towers, and it will. That claim sounds like common sense, right? If the cell towers lose power, they don't function. But that's not exactly true. In recent years, with fires across the state, the California Public Utilities Commission urged cell providers to put in backup power in high-risk locations, and some of them have already done that. When we reached out, a Verizon rep said many of their towers have backup generators that they will be refilling to keep service during the outages. T-Mobile also said they have generators and batteries to keep services online, as well as temporary generators they can move around. AT&T said they're working to deploy generators and equipment to keep customers connected, and also opening unlimited talk, text, and data to users in the community. We haven't heard back from Sprint yet. Bottom line, don't just assume you won't have service. The idea that all cell towers will shut down without power is actually false. The major providers have generators and backup plans to keep service. And that's an important distinction. Without power and without service, people may be tempted to turn their phones off or put them in an airplane mode to conserve battery. Now, that's still a good idea if you can't charge your phone, but also check periodically to see if you do have service and make sure there aren't any alerts or warnings for your area. If you're seeing any other claims out there, send us an email and we'll check them out. With your Verify, I'm Jason Puckett.
All right, let's talk about one specific thing that did happen. Worst case scenario, biggest fear is that a fire breaks out in the middle of the night during these extreme fire weather conditions. That happened. That happened south of Orinda about 2 o'clock this morning in Moraga. So this is the area, and the reason why this looks different than usually the maps I show you, this is the raw data from the National Weather Service. I just want to show you some of the extra resources I'm looking at. 31 miles an hour when it broke out in this direction. So it's in an open area, lots of vegetation to burn, but right next to suburbia and homes with roaming streets and a whole lot of structures that are in danger. They got a handle on it, but one thing that's difficult about fighting fires at night, you're not going to use these. It's windy and it's dark and you cannot fly aircraft. Once the sun comes up, if something new breaks out, we've got one more tool in the toolbox to fight any additional fires. The biggest concern this morning was where it was going next. If it was able to get past that neighborhood, plenty of open terrain, and then the Oakland Hills on the other side, and we all know what happened there years ago. We will be right back.
Wave from Santa Rosa, and I'm gonna take my glasses off because I'm using my eyes.
This is breaking news on Morning Blend.
We're up in arms about this. This is not the way to treat consumers and citizens of California.
These events historically are the events that cause the most destructive wildfires in California history.
So what they're talking about, more than 1 million people are in the dark after PG&E cut power to hundreds of thousands of homes in Northern California. They're doing it because of the hot, dry, windy weather, the strongest winds we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it is really blowing out there in some parts. Okay, so take a look at the PG&E outage map. This is a live look at it right now. Those purple dots show the areas affected by the public safety power shutoffs. Some of these people have been without power for more than a day now. Listen to this, though. PG&E has restored power to about 50,000 people in the Sierra foothills, and they expect to restore power to another 60 to 80,000 by this morning. That's some good news, but that's still a lot of purple dots, a lot of people affected.
Yeah.
Now, the point of all this is to prevent fires. So this morning we're asking, do you think the public safety power shutoffs are helpful or harmful? Let us know right now. You can vote at abc10.com/vote or open up our app. It's real easy to vote that way. And 40-60 right now, 60% saying no. A lot of people are really upset.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to, though, with the power shut off, you don't know whether it is working or not working. Right. So it's you know, that's where you're stuck on that.
Right. You don't know how successful it was.
Right.
Unless they find an obvious sign where something happened. But remember, power is just one way. It's fresh of mind because of the campfire and what happened with the wine country fires. But remember, there are dozens of different ways that you can start a fire.
Right.
So I want to show you what did happen. This was in the Bay Area. This is south of Walnut Creek.
Yeah, we got Giacomo, who's there right now live, right?
That's right. So he's got the latest. There were evacuations, and we sent him there, and here he is.
Well, yeah. When we arrived, we found out that there was a number of folks who had to evacuate, about 170 families. But fortunately, all of these folks said that as they were leaving, well, they heard that they saw firefighters coming up. There was a huge response, about 150 firefighters who came, and they really tackled this very quickly. Within just a couple of hours, they were able to get it under control. But of course, winds were certainly a factor here. The fire grew to about 40 acres in just an hour and a half. But fortunately, they got it under control. No structures damaged. Firefighters did tell me a couple of fences got scorched, but really the majority of the fire, it stayed up on the hillside. And even though it got very close to homes, nobody hurt, nothing damaged, and folks are starting to get back to their homes and being allowed back in now. But firefighters are still working on some mop-up right now, so there's a few homes that folks can't get back to, but for the most part, a majority of the families that were evacuated are allowed back. Back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Giacomo. Thank you for staying out there for us. 6:34 right now. Firefighters in Solano County are keeping an eye on another grass fire. Look at those flames. It popped up yesterday between Rio Vista and Sassoon near Highway 12. Now, crews say it started because of a farmer who had some kind of issue with his tractor. Overnight, firefighters stayed there to watch for hot spots. They were able to get it under control quickly yesterday, largely because they had such a huge response. Everybody is on edge and ready to fight these fires as they pop up.
It always seems like it could be farm equipment. It could be some type of a lawnmower. Something in those giant dry areas will spark something like that. Our team coverage continues this morning. We're joined now by Britt Moore, live in Vacaville. The wind really whipping, Britt, and a lot of people going from Sacramento to the Bay Area on 80. It's treacherous driving today.
Oh yeah, we're just kind of blowing away in the wind here. The winds have definitely intensified over the last 30 minutes or so. Well, the winds were so bad that the Vacaville Fire Protection District had to call in for additional resources to help them fight an overnight and early morning brush fire here in Vacaville. I want to show you what that scene looked like early this morning, around 2 o'clock this morning. The Deputy Fire Chief, Doug Rogers, telling me 1 acre of land here along Sunnybrook Lane burned. There were some wood piles and brush around a house. That house itself, though, did not catch on fire. Now, they put this thing out relatively quickly, but they made sure to do all they could to prevent this fire from spreading.
We call more resources quicker because, as you can tell, we can barely stand up out here. So if we do get a fire established, it's really going to take off on us.
Yeah, still similar conditions right now, even as we're starting to see the sunrise. Definitely still pretty dark out here, and the wind, like you can hear it, hopefully, definitely still here. Doesn't feel like it's going anywhere anytime soon, guys.
Yeah, Britt, excellent. We can hear the issue as well as see it, too, so thank you reporting live. All right, Rob is outside. Rob, that's Vacaville, Fairfield.
Right.
How is it where we are in Sacramento outdoors?
Okay, I just want to, I want you, maybe a gust will come through here. I've been out here, 2 strong gusts just came through, and that's sort of been the case. It'll die down and you think, okay, we're done. Then a gust will come through, and just look at this. I mean, this is the reality, is that we've got leaf debris, we've just got stuff all over the place because of the strong winds we've seen overnight. I'll say this, right now is the peak of the wind for everybody all at once. We're seeing strong winds in the Sierra, the Valley, the coastal range as well. And right on cue, there's one of those gusts. Maybe you hear it on my microphone. So here we go, folks. These are the sustained winds. Now, the reporting stations you see there, that's mostly at the airports, but we've got other sensors and other ways to detect the wind in between. And you can see the strongest winds right now are in the Sierra. So I know it's been a long time coming, but it may not be in your neighborhood. Placerville, Auburn, not that windy. And the biggest complaint we've been hearing is it's not windy here. So why should we shut off the power? It's because where the power is originating, or where there's large transmission lines bringing power from those spots, or maybe even out of state, it is windy right now. And certainly there is a huge fire concern. It's all about the fire concerns. I'll take you through the next few hours. I do think in general it'll be windy until this afternoon. Then we're going to start to see things die down, and I really like going into tonight, but I got to tell you, it should be windy enough for the higher elevations. The Sierra foothills, they actually have had their red flag warning extended until tomorrow morning. It's going to be borderline all night long, but it's not dropping completely. So again, we'll keep an eye on that. This is an update, by the way. This is new information. And for the Valley, probably a couple hours after sunset for your red flag warning conditions as well. Back out here live, just letting you know that the wind is going to continue to be a story. But remember, it's not just Northern California. I was just checking online, and we're getting a report of a large brush fire breaking out in Southern California, where I-5 and the 210 meet just south of Santa Clarita. So this is a wind event, a fire weather event for all of California, and it's just getting going in Southern California as well, where they also are going to have planned power outages as well. So this is something the whole state's going through all at the same time.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, Rob,
yes.
Mentioning we're at the peak of it right now. All right. One area where people are really being hit hard by the power shutoffs, Nevada City. A lot of people there are not happy about this.
Yeah, I've only heard one person say that I'd rather do this than have my house burned down. ABC 10's Carlos Herrera is live in Nevada City. Carlos, how are people dealing with the outages there? I see you're outside of a business. I can't imagine how much money they're losing.
Oh, a lot of money. They're not happy about it. We've seen people walking around the city with their lamps on, their flashlights. Take a look though here. This is a broad street. First of all, I want to show you the lights are on here, but they are gas lamps, so no electricity here. Last check, 24,000 people in Nevada County are still without power. Here in Nevada City, businesses are really feeling it. Take a look here. Let's walk inside. As we pull the door open, walk in. This business owner out in the dark, he's concerned about all the frozen goods here really going to waste. He has a lamp here right on the counter. Some customers come in. Good morning, how are you?
Very good.
You've been without power, right?
We have a generator.
Oh, you have a generator. That's good, but still not cheap.
Not cheap, but yeah, it's unbelievable. All the grocery stores are closed except for this.
Yeah.
Our local market's closed. There's no gas station.
Yeah, incredible. Ali, you've had this market for 12 years, so you said you've definitely felt this. It hits hard, especially because it's towards the end of the week and it's a big tourist destination.
Yeah, a lot of customers who comes over here, they are visiting this place, and we have grocery stuff and all the dairy stuff. Yesterday it went bad, so the owner, he didn't communicate to me like either we're gonna open the store today or not, but still I came and nothing left over, and all the stuff, it got expired, so we have to just throw it out.
You see a lot of money there. He's expecting to be without power for at least the rest of the week. Walt Kirsten, we've been talking about it all morning here on Morning Blend. This is a big tourist destination, especially as you hit towards the end of the week into the weekend. They're hoping that at least the power comes back by the weekend. We spoke with some Airbnb owners who say they have their rentals booked already. They're going to lose a lot of money if these power doesn't come back.
Carlos, you were in Auburn yesterday. It was a ghost town. Would you say Nevada City feels like a ghost town right now?
It definitely does, yeah. Although we did show you those gas lamps running on Broad Street here in downtown, really making a difference. But still, it feels really rather dead. We spoke with some people earlier this morning who approached us. They said, well, it definitely feels a little much more calmer this morning than it did earlier in the week.
Or at least Auburn got some lights back on, and you were there yesterday. We wish the good people in Nevada City, Grass Valley, well as they approach the lucrative weekend days. Thank you, Carlos. We're hearing from more schools planning to close today because they don't have power. The whole Grass Valley School District canceling classes and the after-school programs. No classes at Folsom Lake Community College's Placerville campus. Esparto Unified School District also closed. And new overnight, UC Berkeley canceling classes for the second straight day. We have a full list on our website, abc10.com. Brittany, how are the roadways?
You know, a couple of things we're still watching as you make your way out. Let's talk about gas first. Again, if you live or work in the Auburn area, a lot of people without power. So that means four-way stops. If traffic lights aren't working, you got to treat it as a four-way stop. And on top of that, some gas stations are already without power and gas, especially Forest Hill, very close to I-80. So I checked the map for you. About a mile from that place, we have some options for you at High Street. You can go to abc10.com/gas to kind of find better deals. As we talk about traffic, here's what you do need to know. 80 westbound near Madison Avenue. As you head out, we have an accident in the slow lane plus rush hour, right? So you can see our speed tracker showing you 47 miles per hour. So it's not a parking lot, but it definitely is building. Man, if you're just having a tough day like me, no power and just trying to get to work, you can always take Roseville Road to avoid some of those delays and hopefully headaches. All right, another issue I do need to make sure you know about, Rob's been telling you about it all day, is just your driving conditions. Heavy wind. We have a wind advisory. Yolo Causeway is definitely a concern, right? We all know bright sunny day we have issues. Throw in the wind and we could have big problems. Take it nice and slow. Both hands on the steering wheel. We're looking at right now Davis to Fairfield, 33 minutes.
And here in Placerville, like most places across the area, people are not too happy with the outages. They think it might be a little bit too much, but we spoke with one mother who thinks it's a good step to prevent these wildfires. We'll have that when we come back.
The power of information. The speed of news. Faster, stronger, more connected. The all-new ABC 10 Information Network. Connected to you. Powered by Xfinity.
6:46 right now. Welcome back, everybody, to Morning Blend. If you haven't seen this before, this is a live look at PG&E's public safety power shutoff map. Those purple dots, that's where PG&E cut power to people as a wildfire prevention method. So far, PG&E has restored power, though, to 50,000 people. They're getting back on for another 60 to 80,000 later this morning. If you want a link to this map, we can text it to you. All you got to do is text the word shutoff, one word, to 916-321-3310. And we all know that this has to do with the weather. It's dry. It's super windy, really windy in some places, not so much in others, but the wind is not helping folks out, Rob.
Right, absolutely. So I just want to cover in general what we're looking at here, because there are some changes to this, the big red flag warning map. So the things that have changed are two areas that we are primarily focused on. The Valley and the Sierra have added time to the red flag warning, okay? Now, I don't make these. This is from the National Weather Service, but looking at the conditions and the criteria of how windy it's going to be and how dry the air is going to be, this is not temperature dependent, and also how dry the fuels are, which we know they're dry. We've added 4 hours to the time period for the Valley spots. Yesterday, we were talking about 5 p.m. Now it's 9 p.m., so it's going to be longer and much longer in the Sierra foothills. We're thinking maybe 5 p.m. also for those areas, but now it looks like 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So this is still going to happen weather-wise for fire weather conditions to continue. It's windy right now, and the one thing I would say that's been added to the mix is overnight we started to see some really strong wind gusts in the mountains of the Sierra. And this is the biggest issue that is constantly mentioned in every interview, every online comment. It's not windy where I live, so why would the power be shut off? And that is a very frustrating reality. But the truth of the matter is along the mountains where some of this power is generated via hydro, or maybe it's generated out of state and it has to go over transmission line over the Sierra Nevada mountains. If it's windy anywhere along that line, anywhere, and we are seeing that. These are current wind gusts of 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour. Then there may be a threat to that transmission line itself, and that's why the power is getting shut down, because it's not where you live, it's where the power is coming from. And if it's threatened along any of these lines, folks, that's the things that they are looking at. For example, Placerville has not been windy. It has not been windy at all. But you know what? Some of these lines do connect to hydropower higher up in the higher elevations, and perhaps that's one of those transmission lines that's being affected. The prime example of this disconnect is what happened with the Camp Fire. The morning that the Camp Fire broke out, it was not that windy in Paradise at all. It was breezy, but not like the Feather River Canyon, where we saw upwards of 60-mile-an-hour winds, and that's where the issue was with the power line. That's where the fire started, and then we all know what happens next. So again, it's just worthy of a mention because it's been the top of mind for so many folks, and frustrating as well. We've got temperatures in the 50s this morning, highs in the 70s. It's going to be windy again throughout the course of the day. Strongest winds right now for the next 4 or 5 hours, and then once we get to the afternoon, we'll start to see it relax a little bit. I like where this is going, but again, until we start to drop for wind speed and we see that humidity come up, those red flag warnings still should be in place for a while. And then, of course, we know once the weather is totally done with fire weather conditions, it may be even longer than that before power comes back on. That's all up to PG&E. Now, for more live on the ground in Placerville, one of the places that is experiencing that very scenario where it's not windy, but there's no power, we're going to go ahead and talk to Ian with more.
Yeah, so I'm here in Placerville where, like a lot of places around the area, people are a little bit angry about the power outages because there isn't much wind. Now, we haven't had more than a slight breeze, and so that's making people think maybe this is a little bit too much. But there are some people who think that the power outages still are a good idea, even if you're not seeing much wind. We spoke earlier with Cindy Kersey. Now, she's a local mother who's taking advantage of the PG&E community centers. Now, PG&E set up those community centers as places where you can go charge your phone or maybe sit in some AC, and those places are popping up in those areas affected by the outages. Now, Kersey says that she would rather be safe and go without power for a few days than risk the devastating wildfires that the state saw last year. Have a listen.
A fire would be much worse, wouldn't it? I don't want to lose my house. And we live in an area where houses are kind of close together, so I'm fine. This is an inconvenience. This is not Hurricane Katrina. We're not losing lives.
Now, another thing to keep in mind, like you said earlier, is that you may not be seeing wind in your area, but another area on the same line as you, on the same transmission line, might be seeing dangerous and high wind conditions. And for that reason, they need to shut down the line to make sure there's no fire danger and just to keep everyone safe. And many of you have asked about things like, where can I get gas? What gas stations are still working? Are my phones going to keep working? And where can I maybe charge those phones if I'm not getting any power at my house? Well, we have a full list of resources on our website. Again, you can find that list of resources on our site.
Did you know that all Sacramento youth in grades kindergarten through 12 are eligible to ride
Ian, thank you for tying all that together. Governor Newsom is reacting to these PG&E power shutoffs. He's not happy, to say the least.
They've created these conditions. It was unnecessary. We're doing everything in our power, my gosh, doing everything in our power to help them help themselves. Now it's time for them to do the right thing and get out of bankruptcy and get this system to the 21st century.
He did go on to acknowledge the shutoffs are necessary, though, to keep people safe, with strong winds posing a wildfire risk. Brittany?
All right, at 6:52, traffic picking up across the map as more folks maybe head out to work, and watching a couple of accidents as well. So if you usually take 80 westbound near Madison Avenue, we still have an accident in the slow lane. Plus, we're dealing with rush hour, right? So our speed tracker is showing you some spots of 47 miles per hour. So again, it's not a parking lot, but it is building. If you're already just feeling stressed out with everything going on today, take Roseville Road to avoid some of those delays. Another accident if you're coming in near the Elk Grove Florin area. This is Florin Road as you approach 99. So be on the lookout for an accident. Police, fire, and EMS all headed to the scene. So traffic's going to build in that area. You can take 47th Avenue and take a look at the speed tracker in the corner of your screen turning yellow. That means traffic is picking up, right? You're going to see slower drive times. So 99 Elk Grove into downtown, we are looking at 26 minutes. So an average of 44 miles per hour. 5 northbound, we're looking at 30 minutes. An earlier accident is clear, but slow going across the map wall.
6:53. Let's take a quick look at your business headline and a live look at the Dow. Good news, up about 130 points. Yesterday, the Dow ended 181 points higher, so it's building off of yesterday's little bit of a rush. A busy morning for firefighters. We'll check a new wildfire which is burning in the Bay Area. All that next here on Morning Blend.
Get up-to-the-minute information during the largest planned power outage in state history, affecting 800,000 customers in more than 30 counties. Be the first to know breaking updates and alerts delivered straight to your phone. Download the ABC 10 News app now.
All right, 6:56 right now. We're following breaking news out of the Moraga in the Bay Area. A new wildfire has sparked overnight. ABC 10's Giacomo Luca is there. Giacomo, tell us, what are you seeing out there this morning?
Well, right now I'm staged at the St. Monica's Parish Church. This is an evacuation center for the 170 families that had to leave their homes early this morning. Fortunately, the fire, well, it's under control. It was about 40 acres, 150 firefighters. They rushed in and they have it under control. No structures damaged except for a couple of fences were scorched and no injuries. But it certainly brought back some memories for folks who have battled and been in fire before. We spoke with one family who lost their home in the Santa Rosa fire a couple years ago.
This is our second evacuation.
But in the first evacuation, we lost
everything we had. So we moved over here to be closer to our children, and instead of rebuilding. And now we're evacuated again.
Now these families, they are back in their homes. They've gone up, but now they have to deal with these public safety power shutoffs, and that could last at least another couple of days. Back to you.
Let's get one more last check of our question of the day. Do you think that power outages are helpful or hurtful? Let us know right now. Right now, 53, 47, 53% of you are saying no.
All right. Keep the votes coming, right?
Yeah.
Right.
When's the wind going to die?
The wind is going to be with us all day long today, but as we get deeper into the evening, things start to slow down, relax, but still red flag warnings until tonight.
All right.